Hello everyone and welcome to our Tech Tuesday tutorials number 165. Today we show you how to make a custom professional email signature in Gmail. Okay, before we get to the details of how, we should cover why and when. You should know that your email signature does not have to be flashy to be effective. In fact, the best email signatures are often fairly simple. Now, please keep in mind that what I'm about to mention are more like guidelines than actual rules, and your results may vary. There will always be exceptions. So here's a few tips. Don't include too much information. Less is more. Instead of posting every social media, website, and credential you might have, just put the bare essentials. This is not a mini biography. If you make your signature bulky and long, people are just going to ignore it. So again, include only what you really need to use. It may sound obvious, but also don't include your email address because, well, it's an email signature. They can just hit reply or see the email address already there. I would say don't use more than one image, excluding, of course, simple icons like social media icons and things like that. Try to keep your fonts to 2 at maximum. Use color, but try to restrict it to about 1, maybe 2 colors, unless you have a specific reason for using more. And optimize it for mobile if possible. Try sending an email to yourself and see if it looks good on mobile as well as the web. Finally, don't promote personal agenda or politics. It's already rough out there. Let's try to keep this as professional as we can. Optionally, you might want to include a profile picture or a logo. I would encourage you to get kind of creative and timely. That is, maybe you have a call to action or a link to an upcoming event. Just remember to change it after that event is up. Basically ask, what do I want my recipient to do when they see my signature? So one example would be to use an appointment schedule calendar, which we covered in Tech Tuesday 157. If you're looking for some free icons for social media, Flat Icons is a pretty good place to go. You can just do a search for any of the social media icons and you'll be able to find one that's pretty basic. Just decide on what kind of theme you want to go with. Are these icons going to have square borders? Are they going to have no border? Are they colored or not? You can recolor them if you want, but most of the time they're going to stick to the color that they use as default. But let's say I take this one and I'm going with a square icon and a white interior. So I'll save that image to my computer and give it a name. Right, the thing is that this icon is really big for what I need it to do. If I were to open this thing up in the folder, you'll see if I go to edit, it opens it up in MS Paint, and this is a pretty big image. You can resize in MS Paint by clicking on the resize, and keep in mind that it shows percentage first. You're going to want to go to pixels. So that's 512 pixels from Flat Icon. The pixel size you're going to need for these images in a signature is more like 32 pixels or so. So that makes that thing really tiny. And if you want to recolor it, I would suggest recoloring it before you resize it. It makes it look a little cleaner. So if I wanted to come in here and give it a different color, I could just use a fill bucket. And let's say I wanted it to be some sort of red or maybe even a special red, like a kind of a darker red. I could do that. Select OK, recolor it, and then resize it. And that little bit of artifacting you see there won't be much of an issue at 32 pixels then. Oh, and notice I just messed up. I did 32%. So pixels, 32. I left it on percent. There you go. So I go in there and save as, and save this as Twitter 32 or something like that. Okay, so to edit your signature, your default signature, you're going to want to go over here to the gear icon and then click All Settings. Scroll all the way down until you see the signature area. It's near the bottom there. And you're going to see one signature there. May or may not have a name, and then you can create a new one. You can create as many signatures as you like, but you can only use one at a time per email address. And you can use a different signature for emails that you send out and emails that are in reply or forward. You can have different signatures for that, but otherwise you have to select one and stick with one at a time. I'll come in here and create a new one, call it demo, and go from here. Now, before I do that, I'll show you my default signature. You'll notice there's nothing really special about this thing. It's got a couple of little lines that are basic text, and it's really one font. I really need to kind of update it. I do have color here, and I use in 4 colors. It's kind of like the Google colors. I made that a long time ago when I was like really pushing for Google certification and things like that. I probably should remake this. So I'll go over here to demo, and a couple things to note is that when you can style your text to a certain degree, and you can control certain fonts, but you don't get a whole bunch of font choices here within Gmail. You can, of course, put in hyperlinks, and you can italicize and bold it. You can even drop in some images. The problem with that though is if you do drop in images, these images are kind of like inline. You can't make them wrap or anything else like that. You can't control too much about the size and all that. You don't have a whole lot of control here, but that may be all you need. And you keep this nice and simple. But if you want something a little bit more snazzy, then we're going to have to use a different tool. And the tool I like to use, believe it or not, is Google Docs, because it's easy to craft something in Google Docs and then bring it into here by copying and pasting. So here's one that I made in Google Docs. And you can see that we kept it fairly simple. We used a little bit of color here. If I want to, I can come in here and customize these icons and use some custom color. So this is an example where I have the default Facebook and YouTube icons, but I might want to actually insert those icons that I just made that were a different color. So here's my Facebook icon, and I'll insert image upload from computer, and I'll use my YouTube icon and maybe even the Twitter icon. This is actually good if you're doing kind of a monochromatic thing, or if you have a corporate logo that has kind of a red or a dark red logo, right? And so you kind of get the idea there. The way that we create this in Google Docs is we use tables. So this is actually using a table, and I'm going to reconstruct this right now. So the way I do it is I come in here and I say insert a table, and I have to think about how many cells I want. Well, I want it split into 2 different columns, that's for sure. And I don't think my columns actually change, so I'll just keep it as a 1 by 2. And then I'm going to go in here and find the image that I want, and I can just insert an image and upload that from my computer, or even get it from the web. And I can copy it straight from here because it doesn't have to be high resolution. Again, this is a signature. You want this image to be small. And so I'm going to bring this down a good bit. Now I'm zoomed in here, so you can see it's actually not too big there. But within Google Docs, you can actually come in here and you can even crop things. And so I can crop some of it to make it more square. And then I just move this border a little over here to match up with a bit more. Basically, I'll get this information. This is just basic text, so I'm just going to copy paste. You get the idea, but you do notice that I am using 2 fonts here. One for the name because it has some pizzazz in it. Kind of looks like he's writing it maybe with a sword, and then a little bit of italics and so on with a different font. And of course, you can insert links just like you do any other way. And then I'm going to bring this in to ensure that it does not take up an entire column width here. I bring that in a bit. Now you'll notice that there's a good bit of padding. Padding is the space between the lines and the content. There's a good bit of padding here. So there's 2 things we want to do. We want to right click on here and we want to choose table properties, and under alignment we can choose padding. What I would do is I would select all of the table and then reduce the padding. I like to go with somewhere around 0.02 to 0.05, something like that. And you can forcefully give some distance here. This isn't padding, this is just the width of the column. So I can give a little extra room right here. The second thing we need to do is, while this is open under table properties, go to color and choose the table border to be 0 points. And that makes that effectively invisible. And then I can take the whole thing, select the whole entire table, right click on that stuff and copy. I'll go to copy, I'll go into my signature there, and I will paste. And so that is my current signature. I need to make sure I tell it to use the demo signature, and I will then come down here and save changes. And when I craft an email, this is what I get. The only problem is that the signature starts right there at the cursor, and I need a little bit more room for that. So I can come back in here, scroll down, select my demo, enter down a couple of lines to give myself some lines there. Heck, you might even decide, you know what, I need a horizontal line before this starts, and I'm going to select that and the table and use that as my signature. And now I've got a line that starts before that, and that helps delineate that. Let's try that again and see what that does. Let's compose. Much better. And then I've got my content there. Okay, so that's one signature you can do. Another one that I did further down below was this one, and this one is roughly doing the same thing. Let me turn the table border to 1 so you can see where the table is. And this actually has an empty cell at the top that I merged, so you can select multiple columns and right click and merge them, and that merges them into one. So I did that for the top here, and I just chose to give it a background color, and I changed the font size to 8. So it's really small and it's not that tall, and it kind of creates this border, nice little color border. And then I put in our resale logo, a very small logo again, and then I merged this and put a link in there with that. So that may become my new signature, I'm not sure. Just remember to turn off the border and select it all, copy it, bring it in here, create a new, bring it in here, delete my old one, and drop that in there. Select that one as my default one and save. Compose, and there is my new signature. Again, I may want to add some padding before my signature starts there, but you get the point. The key here is to construct in Google Docs and turn off the border and turn off some padding or reduce the padding. And of course, follow those guidelines at the beginning. Okay, so I hope you all enjoyed this video and I hope you found it useful. And if you did, go ahead and click that like button. Heck, why not support us and click that subscribe button. Click the bell icon to receive email notifications. Leave a comment or an idea for a Tech Tuesday video below. Share this video with your friends, and we'll see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.